Alrighty, good evening, guys. Tonight we're going to be doing an ITC evaluation prep course to kind of go through some of the highlights and key points of the ITC evaluation. This is for post-ITC participants who have gone through and finished their ITC and are getting ready to do that magical evaluation, independent evaluation. So tonight we're going to go through and define in measurable terms. We're going to be able to identify the key parts of the evaluation form, an academic evaluation form. We're going to go through and hit highlights of the key pieces from things like perfect buoyancy, enriched air nitrox, as well as the open water course to understand some of the key skills of that. We'll discuss a little bit of SSI through the process as well. And its teaching philosophy and how that works with SSI. We're also going to spend a little time in standards and how to find things within the standards so that we understand what they are, where they're at, and how to locate them with a little bit of trivial pursuit, if you will. And first person finds it wins the points, and then we can discuss how we found it, where we found it, and we'll have to prove our information. So the value to you of these ideas is to understand the basics of where to find the information, to make sure we have at least a refresher overview of all the key things we learned through our ITC. So that as we progress into the evaluation, we've got a good understanding of what's going to be expected of us and how that's going to look. The overview of the main points outlined is going to be, we're going to delve deeper into the key questions of perfect buoyancy to confirm knowledge, enriched nitrox, EAN, as well as open water, and then the standards. So that's what we're going to go through. So as we kind of go through this, the first thing I always like to kind of just go over is the academic evaluation form. Now, David and Matt, have you seen the actual academic evaluation form, all 7 pages? Or 5 pages, sorry.
I've seen it. I have a copy.
Okay.
Sorry, David.
So as we go through, I'm going to go and share my screen and just give us a quick overview of what I'm looking at and what is expected of you. And so having a really good, strong knowledge of where things are and what this looks like is huge. Let's see, there we go. I'm trying to present. Give me a second. For some reason, my computer is being a butthead. Entire screen. We'll just go over to entire screen and see how that works.
You had a pop-up just a minute ago, it looked like, but
I did have a pop-up. Thank you.
I didn't read it because I couldn't see
Share screen. Brother can access tray. Try capture a different screen. Okay. It wants me to capture a different screen. I apologize. For some reason, it does not like that screen. I only have 4 screens to choose from. So let's see if I can find one that it does like. Maybe it likes the Macintosh screen better than the primary screen. So I apologize for the technical difficulty here that computers don't always perform in the dynamic that we prefer. So screen 1, share. Doesn't like that screen either. What are you doing? I'm apparently having a breakdown of communication with my computer, and I apologize. Share screen. Window. Try capturing from a different screen. Okay, so I've got a different solution, Dropbox. I dramatically apologize. I have all these ready, but for some reason, it's having issues today. Dropbox home. All right, dive training. Thank you for your patience as we go through this as well. Let's see. Dive instruction, evaluations. And one of the things I encourage you to do is have local copies of this information that you can get to very easily, because this stuff is extremely important. One of the things that I take a lot of pride in is before I do any open water evaluation or any class, I go through and I review the standards of that beforehand so that I make sure that I'm exactly on the latest information and I'm doing the way it wants it to do. Now, kind of a pro tip for you as you kind of go through this as well. Let's see, I think I've got it here. Is that when you go to your your actual evaluation, that you take the time and print all these on waterproof paper like a TerraSlate. It's definitely the cool thing with SSI is they don't want you to reinvent the wheel. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. We had to just come up with a different solution on this. So as we look at this, we want to make sure we're taking a look at this and understand the basic ideas of what they're looking for in the evaluation form and education system. And this one starts off with the diver diamond. How did you present? Did you present over the diver diamond? So Matt, can you give me the pieces of the diver diamond? You're muted, Matt. Matt?
There it is. Sorry, my mute button disappeared on me as well.
No worries.
You're not the only one that has technical difficulties, right?
Absolutely. So what are the 4 parts of the diver diamond?
Okay, so we've got knowledge, skills, performance, and experience.
Close.
Right? Knowledge, skills, equipment, and experience.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah,
so well, one of the things as we kind of go through this, we have to understand where SSI came from and kind of their dynamic philosophy of this idea is that we want to build good knowledge and good skills, but we also want to make sure we bring in that equipment portion as well. And part of that comes from the idea that they came from retailers in the 70s, right? But part of that as well is something larger, and it's evolved quite a bit. So as we look at this, the equipment portion is hugely important. Matt, why do we want to make sure we're talking equipment in every single class?
Well, 1, so they can be familiar with it. 2, if we're working a shop, which I won't be, but we want to talk about equipment that we sell, and also help them get familiar with what they're actually using.
Exactly. There's another piece of that as well. And part of that is when we get them into the investment of equipment, and that's what we want to think about is expressing that when they get into equipment, it's an investment, right? And how do we, David, as we kind of think about when we invest in something, what does that mean for a long-term goal for us?
Generally speaking, if you're willing to invest something, it means you're planning on sticking around. You're not just here for the short term.
Exactly. Now, how would that be important in the dive industry that when we have an investment into our diving?
Putting the investment in signals that you're willing to put in the time and the effort to become a good diver, rather than just a casual every so often diver.
Exactly. So the first section is, as we're doing an academic evaluation, we're looking at that idea of the diver diamond, the customer loyalty cycle, the total teaching system, and comfort through repetition. So this is what we're evaluating you guys on as you're doing your presentation. So this is a little different than what you guys have seen a lot of times in the past, where we're just talking, start an intro, outline what we're going to talk about, the who, what, where, when, and why, right? This is the other side of it as we start talking about this. And it's really important, because what we're trying to do is not just sell a bunch of crap to our divers. Absolutely. That is not the goal. We want to create a lifelong mission for these divers so that they're into diving, they enjoy diving, and they're committed to diving. Now, as we think about this, Matt, who is the competition to your local dive store? Whether it be Idaho Dive Pirates, the Scuba Shop, the Crater, who's the competition to the Crater, for example?
Well, there's quite a few, like you say, dive shops and things around that can do that. But I mean, it's going to sound dumb, but the biggest competition is someone that decides not to do it, and it's everything else that they can invest their time and money into instead of diving.
Matt, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So the biggest competitor to a dive shop like Idaho Dive Pirates or Stewart Scuba, if we're going to the East Coast, or the Crater or Catalina Divers, is not another dive shop. It's not Dive Right In Scuba like everybody wants to think. It's mountain climbing. It's Cabela's. It's this sporting goods store down the shop. way, and more important and more granular, it's fly fishing and whitewater rafting and canoeing and all that other stuff. So as we think about this, our goal is to help our divers find their way into diving and understand through good knowledge, building strong skills, helping them with experience. And now, Matt, for me, experience means two different things. Now, there's the experience of being able to do it, that muscle memory experience, but there's also the positive experience of doing it, enjoying doing things, right? Matt, I would be willing to bet that there are things that you have tried in the past that you had a negative experience doing that you don't currently do because of that experience you had, right? Same thing with businesses. Have you ever been treated rudely at a business?
Oh yeah. Everybody
Do you go back
has.
to that business?
Not willingly, right?
Exactly, unless there's no other choice, right? You walk into the whatever shop and they have treated you poorly for whatever reason. So the good thing is SSI is really big on not making you reinvent the wheel. So as we start looking through this, I encourage you strongly to start downloading these academic evaluation sheets and start looking at what we're actually looking for. So the general scoring dynamics of these are pretty straightforward. No knowledge is a 0. Excellent knowledge of the topic on the subject is completed with no deficiencies. So as we start looking at this, we want to make sure we're understanding all the key pieces of this and what it's going to take for each section to be able to get a good score. Now, on the academic evaluation education criteria, it doesn't have as much of what we're looking for here. It's giving just a better, a general idea of what we're expecting and what we're looking for. And so if we want to get more granular on this, and our teaching portion, we need to go into the actual academic evaluation form as well. So that gives you the philosophy end of it and what's expected during all your presentations. But as we start getting a little more granular, and as you can see really quickly, I've got a Dropbox and I keep all this stuff ready to go and in very easily to find. Let's see. So we're going to go to academic evaluation criteria. And this is all available for you in download. And when the internet's really running and rocking and rolling, it comes up fairly quickly. I'm very disappointed because I have all these opened as a PDF ready to go. And for some reason, the computer is being very strange and not opening up the way I would like it to do.
That's about how computers work.
Yep. I'm wondering if I did that. Let's stop that. Present, share screen, entire screen, share. Nope, it didn't like that. For some reason, it doesn't like sharing an entire screen. I'm wondering if I quit my Acrobat and see if that works. That is just annoying. I apologize, guys. This is not how it's supposed to be. So let's just take a look at where we can get these. Let's see. Da-da-da. Share screen, entire screen. We can try a window. Let's see if that works. There we go. That tends to do that. So as we go through this, we can certainly scroll down and we can go to downloads. And we can find everything we're looking for. Eval. So let's just type in eval and see what we come up. Dive briefing evaluation, criteria evaluation, academic criteria. So we can certainly go into this and let's see, academic evaluation teaching. And we'll just hit download and see what happens with that and see if it. There we go. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so as we start going into this, what we're actually looking to teach, we're able to say, okay, boom. Did he define it in measurable terms? Well, let's go and scroll down and take a look at that. Introduction. Candidates should state all objectives that are directly related to their specific topic using measurable terms and terminology. Now, to get a 3, all we have to do is make sure candidate clearly stated in measurable terms all related things related to the topic. Now, as you guys were to evaluate me, did I give you guys an opening introduction in measurable terms of what we're going to learn today?
Well, if we cover the things that you told us we'd cover, then we could measure a yes or a no for those things, for each of those.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Candidate clearly stated in measurable terms all the objectives to the related topic. So this is the beginning portion. We don't know if I've completed that at this point. So at this point, did I clearly state in measurable terms all the objectives to the related topic of what we're going to do? So did I hit everything that we kind of need to do for an ITC preparation for an ITC?
No, I don't think we've covered. I don't think we're going to cover everything.
But for like a preparatory, did I express out enough to say, okay, this is an ITC prep. This is the kind of things I expect to cover. Did we cover?
Yes, you did.
Okay, absolutely.
Mhm.
And did I give you a value? Candidate cleared it. Here's why you need to know this information, as well as the information will be applicable during the student's training or practical experience. Did I give you a value of why you needed to know this?
I think you did.
Yes.
Okay. And then did we provide, a candidate provided all main points in a clear and logical sequence as outlined in the instructor manual? That's a tough one because we're doing an ITC prep. So we'd have to go back to the instructor manual for ITC to kind of look at that. But being that this is kind of off the reservation a little bit as a preparation, would you score me a 2 or 3 on this one?
I'll give you a 3. I thought it was good.
Okay, good. Now the good thing is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is as you building your preparation, say, okay, and here's a key, easy way to get a quick 18 points on every single presentation. As you go through and write out your presentation, start off with on page 1, write out define objectives in measurable terms. Then all you have to do is from this point, go to the instructor manual. And let's just go to SSI. Let's see. Training, courses. And let's just find a course. It honestly doesn't matter. So let's just pick view enriched air nitrox. In a short amount of time. Let's just pick a page that starts off. We'll skip the test. So, did I go too far? Okay, here we go. Okay, so it starts off with, it gives you everything you need to know about what you're getting ready to learn. So let's go to objectives. Here we go. All right, so the objectives of today's course are: state the definition of enriched air nitrox, describe the benefits of and list of limitation of enriched air nitrox. Those are our objective statements. So as we go back and look at it, objectives in measurable terms. Well, I'm going to close that one right there. And we can simply go back and here's our objectives. We're going to, at the end of this, we're going to be able to list the limitations of nitrox, describe the benefits of nitrox, and state the definitions of nitrox. There's straight from the book. What's the value of the subject we're going to talk about? Well, let's look at the next page. It's going to be right in here. Of all the advantages, none greater than this. So all we have to do is kind of read through here, and it'll give us the idea and overall what nitrox is and what our value is. So it's going to provide our value in this opening statement. Simple enough. Overview of main points outlined. All we need to do is go back to our objectives and say, okay, what are the outlines? State the benefits. The outline of that is we're going to learn the composition of the air we breathe, what nitrox 1 and 2 is, using the limitations of nitrox. So that's what we're going to learn. Those are the view of the, sorry about that. Those are the provided overview of the main points outlined. And then all you need to do is continue the process of having good knowledge about the adding some equipment sales in there, and some experience about continual education and local dive travel. Now, one of the things I strongly encourage you guys to do is remember the acronym ART, A-R-T. Every presentation needs to have art in it. Actual experience, relate his personal story. Have a retail portion of it, retail therapy of what we're talking about, and a training opportunity. What can I offer in training? I'm in nitrox. What other course would go with it? What other equipment would go with this? And all, as you've got to go through this process, make sure you're hitting not only sales and counseling, but give them a motivation. Why would I want to buy a regulator that's rated to 40%? Give me an idea of that. Why? And then as you start talking about this, promoting continuing education, I always like to make sure I hit both of these, not just continuing education. Now, if you're really interested in learning more about nitrox, maybe science of diving is for you, because it really goes into the science and idea of this. Now, here's a great place you can use that. When this shop is going to, we're going on a trip next month to Roatan, and we'd love to have you. And we're going to be doing a lot of dives, and using nitrox on these dives would be really great for you, because you're going to have more energy after the dives. So even though it says promoted continuing expansion or local dive travel, hitting both is a huge opportunity for you to make sure you really ace the category and you don't miss it at all. And then simply enough, just making sure to add a safe message in there somewhere that says having nitrox gives you a higher safety margin while diving. Now, one of the big ones as you're making this presentation that a lot of people miss is effective use of training aids. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask you guys to open up your My SSI app. You guys have your phones ready?
Yep.
Perfect. If you would, go to the show me that you're going to the My SSI app. Perfect. If you would, go into training and open up standards.
There.
Perfect. Now, as you go through the standards, it's going to tell you the standards for any course that you're going to teach, and what's required and what you need to be aware of in that as well. So now opening that up and having you guys show me that you had the standards open counts as a training aid. Now, here's the key point about that is if I just ask you to go to standards or open your app, is that really use of a training aid? Is it a prop or a training aid?
Prop if you just show us, I guess.
Correct. I need you to interact with it in a way that it becomes beneficial to you. And I'm not just showing you something. I'm getting you to interact with it. So let's take a look at what the SSI says about using training aids. And that is, let's see, where did it go? Motivation to participate, evaluate training aids. Oh, effectively use training aids is in section 1, 2, 3, 4. Safe and accurate, completed, delivery. Effective use of training aids. So, Matt, can you read that for me, that number 3 statement for me?
On which, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have my screen shared. I apologize. Please read something you can't see.
I've got it here too. Interactive presentation.
So read that for us real quick.
So the effectively use training aids. The candidate should use training aids effectively to reinforce knowledge and understanding.
Perfect. And read number 3 for me. How do I get a perfect score in that one?
A candidate used more than one training aid effectively, and all training aids were related to the topic.
Absolutely.
That's a no-brainer that it's related to the topic, but
absolutely. But being that we need to make sure we spell this out in clear and concise terms, we need to make sure we spell that out very clearly. So, but here's one of the key things is what's the difference between a 2 and a 3, David?
On a 3, you use more than one, and they're related to the topic. And on a 2, they used at least one, but they may or may not have been related specifically to the topic.
Exactly. So here's a key thing, and it goes back to the same idea as we were looking at under the idea of promoted continuing education or local dive travel. Well, to make sure we get a perfect score in that, let's do both. But in training aids, to get a perfect score in that, we have to make sure that we're using at least 2 training aids. I would encourage you strongly to use 3 to 4, especially when it comes to your open water evaluation portion. Making sure that it's clear, concise, that we're using more than one training aid. It's an easy way to make sure we get all the 3 points on that, and we want to make sure we get that. Now, making sure to motivate the class to participate. Are we doing that today, David? David.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you're being motivated to participate?
Absolutely.
Now, Matt, have I asked questions to kind of evaluate your knowledge of this yet?
Not so much, other than just to keep us engaged. You did ask me what the diver diamond was, so I guess that counts as some knowledge. But
it would count as some, but make sure you're asking more questions than what I'm currently doing. We're going through rather quickly, but those are kind of the meat and the potatoes portion of the sandwich. But a quick way to get 18 points is to, one, make sure you're straight from this, is that you start your presentation with a define, explain, and provide. And then the only difference between the summary portion, restate, is the tense. Today, we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Restate. Today we did 1, 2, 3. Today we're the objective was, and the value to you was. All it is a restating the same of your first 3. So if you can do your first 3 at the end with a new tense, that's a guaranteed 18 points. Now let's look at the scoring method. That's 50% of your points just by going to the evaluation form and going through and doing your main objective and value twice. Once at the beginning, once at the end, just changing the tense. Now, as you go through this, it's a good idea that if you have 3 points, to make sure that through your presentation that you hit all 3 points, because it's going to ask, did you accomplish the objective? And you can't accomplish the objective. We talk about 1, 2, 3, and I only talk about 1 and 2. I'm probably going to get a 2 and possibly a fail, and I can't get a failure on any of these. Now, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. Effective use of time, as we kind of go through this. Let's see. Restate the value. Up here we go. Effective use of time. Candidate provided an adequate amount of information to cover the topic within the allotted time. Now, there are going to be times you're going to go over, but as long as you don't repeat yourself, a lot of times you won't get hit very hard. Here's where it starts getting a challenge, is if candidate continually repeated themselves to include unnecessary information that cause the presentation to go long. If you are on nitrox, for example, and we as our kind of punching dummy here, and we start going off on science of diving and to greater depth and tides and currents and other things like that, and we just go completely off the rails and then bring ourselves back, we're definitely going to get a 2. Candidate did not cover enough information during the presentation to adequately cover the topic, which caused the presentation to be too short. Candidate was ineffective with their use of time. So be aware that during your evaluation, everybody in the room knows what you're talking about. You don't need to go to the nth detail, but you need to cover it enough to ensure that you've covered the topic without repeating yourself in multiple ways. So as you go into your evaluation, I encourage you strongly to print this off and have it ready to go. Have this evaluation printed on a piece of Terra slate, so you can go through and mark and erase as you need. But also make sure you have the academic evaluation form ready and read through it on a regular basis. In fact, as you create your presentation, read through each section, the introduction. What does it take to get a perfect score? The great thing with SSI, and I'm going to say this several times throughout to make sure that you guys really get it, is SSI does not want you to recreate the wheel. They don't. As you guys get in the pool, for example, you can have a complete set of tear slates with you that say exactly what you should say. And Craig will tell you he loves it when you read straight from a piece of tear slate. They do not expect you to memorize this. They don't. They want you to read it straight from the slate to make sure you get it right every time. A pro tip for you, in my presentation, and Wilson's seen this numerous times, every open water class, we go through, if we're going to do a mass drill skill, I have that written on a slate, on a slide on my presentation. We click to that. We're going to go through mass drill 1. It's going to look like this. And here is how we do that. And I read straight from the manual that I printed onto a slide. If we're going to do air sharing, we read through how to do that. And I take it one step farther, and I actually have a video from SSI that's completely available to you that on how to do an air sharing ascent. It's all in there. So we read it, we watch it, and then we talk about it and demonstrate it. And then when I get in the water, we've gone through it, but I also have it on tear slate that we can go back in and we can read it directly. The air sharing is going to be, here's how we're going to do it. And then I demonstrate. Don't think you have to memorize this stuff. You will get more points by just reading from the slate than trying to hope you have it memorized in correct order. Make sense?
That's good. It takes some weight off your own brain, right?
It takes a ton of weight off your own brain. And here's a cool thing is you don't have to memorize all this. So for example, in open water, look, if I could spell today, I'd be doing really good. Let's see, open water, view course. Let's go back over and let's take a look at this. Let's go to pro mode. And let's go down to the appendix. In water skills. As we go in, I just went into the open water diver course. Whoop, I apologize. You guys can't see what I'm looking at. There we go. So this is online in the open water course. That's all we're in is open water. And we've gone to the appendix in water skill session. Here's the video. We don't even have to. SSI will show us exactly what they want us to do. They've created all the videos for us. This is what we're looking for and how to do it. There's your in-water skill for buoyancy, weight, and system adjustment. Equalization test, mass clearing. Here's how to do the mass clearing. Here's what you need to copy on and have on a tear slate. Where in shallow water, partial flood. Establish positive buoyancy. It tells you everything you need to know: the who, what, where, and why, where we're going to do this, how we're going to do this, why we're going to do this. All masks leak at some point. Divers need to know how to clear a mask without returning the surface. This is in the back of your open water instructor manual. You can copy it out and put it straight on tear slate. And then even better is it has a video exactly how SSI wants you to do it. Here's how to present your partial flood. And it talks about everything you need to do. Now, this is not to say that you can't increase upon the standards. Remember, the standards of what they're showing you is a base reference. You can absolutely go through this and be a higher standard. For example, as I demonstrate mask number 1, my presentation looks like this. You watch me. Mass drill 1, halfway. As you can see from what we just saw, her presentation was here. I took what her presentation was and I expanded upon it to make it a little more clearly. Now, as you kind of go through this, you need to make sure that your hand signals are all exaggerated and larger. But the cool thing is, as you go through this and you're being evaluated, SSI doesn't want you to recreate the wheel. They don't want you to figure this out on your own. They've given you guidance on exactly what they want, whether it be the academic presentation, the open water skills, the dive guide presentation, anything that they're asking for you, it's all in the manual, exactly how they want you to do it. And they encourage you, print this off on tear slate and bring it with you. When I did my evaluation, One of the guys actually had 90% of the instructor manual printed onto TerraSlate on, they were about 10 by 8 pages, and he had drilled through it, and it was on a ring. It was this thick, freaking thick. And so wherever he was at, he had the open water instructor manual with him. We got to the creator for our confined water skills and for our open water skills. And they said, okay, you're going to do this skill. I need to see you demonstrate and teach air sharing ascent. No problem. Who, what, where, when, and why. He went right through and just read it straight. And then he reclipped it as BC, and then he demonstrated by utilizing the hand and arm signals. Don't think you need to recreate the wheel on this. Sage will love it if you pull up a set of TerraSlate. And TerraSlate's pretty cheap. I want to say 100 sheets will cost you about $30 on Amazon. So it makes it nice and simple and takes a lot of pressure off. It makes your open water presentations and your confined water presentations substantially easier. Just read it and make sure you've read them and practice them before you go to open water as well. Of course, don't make it. Sorry, I'd accidentally muted myself. So don't make it the first time you've read these when you get in open water. Make sure you've gone through these and read them 5, 6, 7, 8 times and read them over to your wife. SSI doesn't want you to figure this out on your own. They want you to be on top of this. Does that make sense, guys? So I think it was pretty. What questions do you guys have on presentations, whether it be open water or academic?
Remind me how much time they give us to prepare each time after they give us the topics we're supposed to teach.
Usually a couple hours, and sometimes you'll get your topics for the next day, the day of, so the next day. So you typically you'll get an hour or so to prepare. And the good thing is take your laptop with you. You've got everything you need. My secret to this is I brought my laptop and I used PowerPoint. I literally copy, paste straight into PowerPoint presentation, and I utilized that, the whiteboard and the apps. So I was able to spin my laptop around and keep myself on target because I could just copy and paste what I needed to put in there to cover my subject and keep myself on target. I could show from my laptop videos or slides from the actual pegs right there. And then I was able to use a whiteboard for demonstration, and then I had them bring up their app. That's what worked for me, and it was pretty easy. Even slicker. So here's a pro tip for you. Dropbox is my favorite. And I use Dropbox a lot, but there's a lot of different solutions for that as well. Let's see. Let me just bring my screen share back up. But let's take a look in here of my dive instruction. As we kind of go through this, one of the things you're going to notice is that I've got just about all this the classes in here: deep dive, dive guide, dry suit, nitrox, ecology courses, equipment techniques, evaluation forms, explorer program, extended range forms. But I have this other folder that you might be interested in. This is my ITC PowerPoint and presentations. Here's all the presentations that I had to prepare for either the evaluation or for my tech presentation or for my evaluation. Concept of buoyancy, Archimedes. 10 perfect buoyancy pegs, dive guide presentation, NARC, nitronarcosis, nitrox dive planning and decision making. So these are all presentations that I had to create. And what I've done is every time I create a presentation, I threw it in my Dropbox. And after a while, what I found is I was starting to get the same presentations again and again. And I was able to go back and utilize the same presentation and just clean it up and utilize what I'd learned previously in there. So create a presentation and save it. It's definitely to your advantage, and you've got an opportunity to do that. Now, I've gone a little bit overboard, and I'll be the first to admit that I download all manuals, and I check my manuals on a regular basis to make sure I've got the latest one in there. But I've got everything from tables, training records, training videos, Scuba VIP classes, waves, tides and currents, wreck diving specialty, any course that I can teach, I have a physical manual on that as well. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, is one of the things to be aware of is the standards change. They change on a regular basis. So one of the things I would encourage you guys to do is, as you get ready to teach a course, and it doesn't matter what course it is. We'll just take nitrox, for example. And I would encourage you to download the raw form and the record for every course that you're getting ready to teach, and go through and be prepared to review that before the course. When it comes to it, SSI does not want you to recreate the wheel. Let's see. I thought I had, where was it? I just saw it. Records. Let's see. This is so much more difficult online than it is. There it is. That it is just using opening up the standard PDF. Why isn't, let's see, open Adobe Acrobat. Here we go. Come on. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's the night. This is extremely annoying. I apologize for the computer issues that are going on today. This is pretty unusual. That is for sure. I don't know why it's having such issues today. And it's very frustrating to me, that's for sure. Come on. Hey, Nick. Nick? What happened to all those pages that were on the floor? Let's see.
You rang?
Yeah, what happened to all those pages? Oh, the dog's off. My computer is a big butthead today. Oh, here we go. Is it going to work this time? There we go. Oh, dang it, it closed. What's going on here? Let's go over to open water. Open water. And I apologize for the computer issues. I have all this open in PDF for me to look at. Let's see. Open water. And Wilson's seen these before as well. But one of the things I want you to look at is open every time, open the record. Okay, we're going to go old school on this. So, for example, this is a training record from a class today. We're going to make sure to get her information off the skills. Oh, of course, now it comes up. There we go. So this is the training record for open water scuba. As you get ready to sign off your student, this is what SSI is expecting, that you're signing, that they are able to adjust their equipment, put it on a scuba unit, pre-dive check, buoyancy, throughout the process, control descent, safety stops, rescue skills. This was a big one from this weekend. Did you go through and do rescue skills, approach a panic diver, for example, cramp removal and toes? Did you go through that? We were doing this in open water on Saturday, and another instructor came up and said, "Are you teaching rescue skills?" And we said, "Yes." And this is, "Why are you doing that? That seems like such a waste." An actual SSI instructor said that to us, and we're like, "Because it's in the standards? I mean, we're going to be on the surface for 30 minutes. What do you expect us to do? To sit here and talk about cheesecake, or should we using our time to talk about different things? Could we use that time to talk about an SMB deployment and how that works? Could we use that time for a reciprocal compass course?" This is what you're saying, that as the instructor, I went through all of this, and this is what my divers can do. So when you sign your magic, instructor printed name. Student has successfully completed all the academic sessions, all the skill evaluations, and has passed with the final exam. Student has met all requirements for certification in SSI program. Student reaffirms that they will comply with the SSI responsible diver codes. So this is a contract right here. This is saying you, the instructor, Benjamin Hadfield, pro number 86027, has complied, and I have gone through and I evaluated all these skills with my divers. And more importantly, this is when I did it. Not more importantly, but as important. This is when I did those. So SSI doesn't want you to recreate the wheel. Look at this and utilize the information on a regular basis. It's important to be able to A, know where to find it, but B, know what our expectations are. Remember, frustration comes when we miss expectations, right? And it becomes a legality issue. So as you kind of go through this, have these forms ready. Understand what's on each form so that you're able to go through and create a good course for your divers. It's all in there, and there's videos, there's information, and you can, like I said, you can print it off and take it with you. So let's go through a few of the questions that we could potentially be asked on an evaluation. You ready for that? So we'll start with perfect buoyancy. Let's kind of see where we're at. In perfect buoyancy, a capable diver should be able to establish neutral buoyancy at, where do you think that would be?
The standards, right?
So this is from the perfect buoyancy course. Where would I find that answer? A capable diver should be able to establish neutral buoyancy at.
Yeah. Entry level. Or if I can use the search instead.
But where are you at? What are you looking in?
Oh, I'm in the training standards for recreational diving programs.
Would that be in the standards or would that be in the course material?
It should be in both, I would think.
I'm looking at standards.
A capable diver should be able to establish neutral buoyancy, and this is it for perfect buoyancy.
I just look under perfect buoyancy.
Would that be in the standards or would that be in the course material?
Well, it wasn't where I thought it was in the standards, so check the course material.
Now this is that's right. It's going to be in the course material because this is a program specific question. We're asking not what it's going to take to pass perfect buoyancy, not the standards of that, but we're asking a capable diver should. That's kind of your tip off there. They should be able to do this. Now the standards are going to be much more exacting. They're going to say to pass this course, a diver has to do this. So what do we think the answer is, guys? If we're talking perfect buoyancy.
Probably within 4 to 6 feet, but I'm still downloading the course. My internet's being super slow.
Yeah, I'm looking on page 45. Let's see, training process, diamond. I've never looked at this particular one on PDF, so
Sure.
give me an extra second there.
So give you a hint. In the standards, it's going to talk about what the instructor rating has to be, what the prerequisites, how old they have to be. It's going to talk about the intent. The intent of the program is for example, in this case, the SSI equipment techniques. I'm sorry, and the SSI Enriched Air Nitrox programs provide students with basic knowledge and skills needed to dive safely using breathing gas. Oh, we're talking perfect buoyancy. I'm sorry. I keep pulling up the wrong one.
But it's the same as far as it reads through the.
Exactly. So here we go. The SSI Perfect Buoyancy program provides students with the knowledge and skills needed to improve their diving position and buoyancy control and to safely minimize their breathing gas consumption. That's the intent. And that's so as we kind of go through that, it also talk about how long this should take, depth limitations, ratios, proximity, and what it's going to require to complete. When we start getting into things like a capable diver should be able to establish neutral buoyancy at, and let's give some examples. At the bottom, A, only at the top, at the safety stop, B, C, any depth while remaining motionless, or B, any depth while using arms and legs. Or that would be D, sorry.
Capable or perfect diver? The capable diver would be D.
Any depth while remaining motionless.
Oh, being able to use arms and legs.
Any depth while using arms and legs.
Well, I guess motionless would be buoyancy. Sorry, thinking about that too much. I'm going with your C answer, whatever that was. Motionless.
Any depth while remaining motionless. That's our goal. How do we do this? Because now let's go back to our purpose here. What's the purpose of this? In the standards, the perfect buoyancy provides students with the knowledge and skills needed to improve their diving position and buoyancy and safely minimize their breathing gas consumption. So the answer to this question is going to be in the course materials. And that's where we'd find that is in course materials. So that's what we're looking for. And if we go back to standards, we look at this, how do we minimize our breathing gas? By remaining motionless if possible, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for is a capable diver should be able to establish neutral buoyancy at any depth while remaining motionless. Are we maximizing our gas consumption if we're using our arms and legs?
On page 49 of the book. So your goal is to be able to establish neutral buoyancy at any depth while remaining motionless, parentheses, no hand or arm movement. You should be, close parentheses, you should be able to remain motionless like a fish indefinitely.
Absolutely. So one of the things I'm going to encourage you guys to do before you go into your open water course is to go through and reread things like perfect buoyancy, because perfect buoyancy is going to be absolutely one of the things you're going to be tested on. You're going to be tested on enriched air nitrox, because when you're going to come out of, you should already be a perfect buoyancy instructor at this point. Assistant instructor, you become a perfect buoyancy instructor, right? So that's absolutely open up. Other courses you're going to need to read through are going to be diver stress and rescue as well. So you're going to need to reread through that and make sure that you have a good understanding, as well as nitrox. Automatically becoming a open water instructor, you now are becoming a nitrox instructor automatically. SSI gives that to you as part of this. So making sure that you're going through and reviewing that as well. What other courses do you get automatically as an open water instructor?
This is in there. You can do the advanced adventurer courses, right?
Correct.
And
Provided you have the specialty.
Yep.
But what specialties are you automatically given?
Perfect buoyancy.
Perfect buoyancy comes as assistant instructor.
And look at all the.
Was your question as an instructor or as a dive master?
As an instructor, what courses are part of open water instructor?
Advanced adventure, nitrox, specialty programs that are diver stress and rescue, dive guide, and am I missing any?
Nitrox.
Nitrox.
Do you get deep?
Can an OWI do dive master or dive guide?
So once you become an open water instructor, you can now teach deep, nitrox, stress and rescue, perfect buoyancy, advanced adventure, provided you have the specialties are ready for the ones that you're trying to teach as well. So be aware there's going to be a few things you're going to be required to understand. Deep is going to be one of them. Stress and rescue. You need to understand and read through what you can do with stress and rescue. You need to understand the standards of what they're looking for, because those are absolutely on the plate of what you need to know.
So one of the review questions I remember was, I just found it, but which of the following instructor certifications can only be earned by an open water instructor? So that's being earned beyond the ones we're given. Is that what that's asking?
Yes.
Okay.
So be aware, you need to go through and understand and reread your dive guide program and reread your diver stress and rescue program, as well as enrich their nitrox and perfect buoyancy, because they're all on the table. There are going to be questions on those. For example, you're most likely going to get a question about weight integrated BCs have a quick release system for buoyancy, water drainage, venting air, or safety. What's the answer? Buoyancy, water drainage, venting, or safety?
This is asking if it's integrated?
Yes. Weight integrated BCs have a quick release system for
safety.
Buoyancy. D's for safety. And that's right. Absolutely. But going through and understanding that, I'd also bone up on things like Archimedes and Boyle's law as well, because they're going to be important. So things like blank and blank are directly related to diver's buoyancy. And that'd be obviously Boyle's law and Archimedes. So making sure you go through and read the standards on those and have a good understanding. Enriched iron nitrox, you're going to get questions like professionals must be able to recognize blank as it relates to CNS oxygen toxicity. Things like the warning signs and symptoms, both in yourself and in others. It's a direct quote from the book. So make sure you go through and read those as well, so you have a good understanding. Things like in general standards. Here's your chance for open book information. Medical history forms or medical statements are valid for how long, guys? It's in the standards.
1 year.
Where show me where you found that in the standards.
Oh, I just remembered that because I just had to do it, but.
Absolutely. Look it up in the standards and tell me where in the standards. You may be right, you may be wrong, but show me.
Medical.
Page 9.
History questionnaire.
What section, David?
So I'm in administration,
it's
medical
11.
history.
So tell me what section you're
privacy
in.
forms and training records.
What section are you in, David?
Privacy forms and training records.
Back up a little bit. Scuba General Training Standards, Scuba Experience Programs, entry-level programs. What part of the standards are you in? General standards, experience programs?
Administration.
Okay, but what part of the standards is that? Is administration in, is what I'm trying to get to. That's in the which part of the standards? There's 6 parts of the standards. Scuba General Training Standards, Scuba Experience Programs.
Scuba General
Training.
Training Standards.
There you go. So as we look at that, medical history forms, medical statements are valid for, that's going to be in your general training standards. Okay, it's going to be in administration. That's good. Where in administration?
Page 11.
Under medical history?
Diver medical participant questionnaire valid for 1 year from the date of signing.
Yep, absolutely. So that's where, so you need to know where they're at in the standards and realize that something like medical history is going to be in the general training standards. Okay. Let's continue this. What is the maximum depth for emergency ascent skills in all SSI training programs? Maximum depth for emergency skills in all SSI training programs. What section is that going to be in? This is talking about all programs.
And so general
Standards,
again?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
where in general standards would I find that?
Well, it talks about all the supervision. It's in supervision. Must be done from depths of 30 feet or less. So that's in conducting SSI programs under supervision is where I found that.
Okay. Conducting SSI programs. So let's look, supervision.
And then it just says, scroll down a little bit, emergency ascent skills. Any ascent training done during open water scuba training dives that simulate an emergency condition must be done from depths of 30 feet or less.
Or 9 meters. Yep. Absolutely. Now, this on the test, it's going to say 33 feet, but you're going to need to find that, and sometimes it's going to be a little bit off. Just be aware, some of these have changed a little bit. Now, who is responsible for emergency plan when training is conducted? What section of standards am I going to find that, and where will I find that in the standards? Who is responsible for the emergency plans when training is conducted?
Okay.
What section do I find that in?
So
Duty of care.
David, where?
It's under duty of care, conducting SSI
Okay, but
programs.
what's in the 6 general sections? What section am I looking in?
conducting again, SSI program, right, David? I think that's where you're at.
Yep. But we're going to start with the general.
Yeah.
That's in the general training standards portion. And absolutely, under conducting SSI programs.
I don't see the 6 standards that you're talking about.
They'll be online,
Like you keep-
but they break up the standards into six overall sections.
Look, I don't know if you can see that.
I
There we
don't
go.
think they do that in the.
It's online and on the app.
Oh, I see. You have to go. I'm on the PDF, so you have to go clear back to the index
Oh,
to be able
yeah.
to see that.
On the PDF, if you look at the bookmarks, it doesn't show them as 6. It shows them as each section.
Yeah, it shows them as 700 different things.
The only way you can really figure that out is if you go to page
Clear back to the
6.
table of contents.
Yes, yeah, I see where you're at. Yeah, table of contents breaks them up
So
into those 6.
Yeah.
That's good that you pointed that out because I don't always use the phone app. So
Use the app. And here's a pro tip for you as well. If you're using the app, let me close out what I'm doing here. Let's see. If you're on the app, you have a search bar, and you can do a general search for if you can get it broad enough, but specific enough, you'll generally find it very quickly by using the search. I use the search actually pretty regularly. Overall,
that's pretty new too. That hasn't been there forever.
It's been there for a while, but as you kind of start looking through this, who is? Let's see if I can find it with my search on my site. Emerge. Let's see. Here we go. Let's present. Share screen. Window. So you start. So the question was emergency. You need to be more specific.
Any SSI professional conducting in-water training must have written plan for incidents for each location. It's
Supervision.
probably asking more specifically on who that is. Yeah.
Exactly. So who is responsible for the emergency training plan when training is conducted? The professional, the center, only the highest SSI professional, or the candidate in the professional program?
The
Any
professional.
SSI professional.
The SSI professional. Now show me in the standards. Conducting programs. Where do I go?
Page 32.
Supervision, direct supervision, indirect
duty.
supervision.
SSI professionals must not engage in activities of supervision, direct super, indirect super. So where do I find that the responsibility of emergency care plan?
What's in the first sentence?
You're on the wrong
right?
tab then. You have to click duty of care, not supervision.
Okay, duty of care. That's fine. I'm asking for you guys to guide me through this. Where do you see this?
Bottom of that page, emergency plan.
I'm sorry, say again.
The bottom of that page, emergency plan. Any SSI professional right there. Well, you scroll,
go.
so it's not the bottom anymore.
Right here?
Yep.
So there you go. So duty of care. So the key is to be able to find this information quickly and easily. You can certainly do searches as you go through this process as well. Let's find another good one. What are the requirements to upgrade an indoor diver to an open water diver? Where do I find that? What section?
Entry-level scuba programs.
Okay.
And then it's not an indoor diver, then it's going to be, okay, it is an indoor diver. Down at the bottom, it says upgrades. To upgrade to an open water diver certification, an indoor diver must complete 2 additional open water training dives on scuba and the skill evaluations outlined in open water training dives 1 through 4 of the instructor manual.
There you go. Perfect. That's exactly how I find it. All right, let's try another one. Which of the following must be completed before issuing a scuba diver certification? Where do I go?
Literally the next page, which is scuba diver.
Okay.
Training standards, entry-level scuba programs, scuba diver.
Okay.
Then you said it was minimum instructor rating was the question?
No, which of the following must be completed before issuing a scuba diver certification?
Uh-huh.
I've got that scuba diver certification up for you right here on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you want me to go?
All the way to the bottom. No, not all the way to the bottom. Go down to requirements for completion.
There you go. So complete
So the
academic
questions
sessions 1 through 3 assessments as outlined in the instructor manual. Complete the scuba diver final exam. Complete 3 pools and session open water pool confined open water or confined water sessions 1 through 3. Complete the student water fitness evaluation of the SSI standards and complete at least 2 open water training dives. Make sense? The key is not so much memorizing the information, but knowing how to find the information. I would encourage you guys, you have an hour to take the test. Know where the information's at, how to find it, and check your answer every single time. So here's another one. The first open water training dive from the following specialty program can be counted towards the advanced adventurer program. How would I find that? Where would I find the first open water training dives from the following specialty programs can be counted towards advanced adventurer?
Under advanced adventurer.
Okay.
Scuba
Where do I go?
experience. Up one.
This one, okay.
the
Experience.
second. No, one more.
Scuba experience programs, okay.
No, down Scuba specialty
Oh,
programs.
adventure.
Actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fascinating Explorers.
So we're
Yeah.
advanced adventure, okay. Right there in the section, the first open water training dive from the following specialty programs can be counted towards advanced adventure program. There's your complete list. Easy enough? It's really key that you guys be able to find this. Okay, here's another one. What is the maximum depth during a tri-scuba program? Where do I go?
Well, let's go back to Scuba experience programs. So second
Okay.
the second section on the
Program.
left.
Okay.
Try Scuba.
Tri-scuba.
Yep, and then it has a depth limitations. It says 15 feet.
There you go. 15 feet is the correct answer, by the way. The
So
basic
this is
divers-
gonna.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is gonna sound really dumb. So here you go. This might be the key takeaway for the whole night. But either I forgot or I missed this. But we're allowed to use the standards for the written test, the multiple choice test?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Are we able to use the open book kind of for the multiple choice test?
Only on the standards. The standards are, you may have the standards because they don't want you to memorize the standards. They want you to know how to find the standard.
Okay. Well, either
So-
I knew that and forgot, or I missed it altogether.
So you can
Right.
have your iPad or computer open to the standards, and you're encouraged. That's why I'm trying to show you guys how to find this stuff and practice finding this.
Yeah, this is good. Actually, a lot. Very helpful.
So that's what I want you guys to understand. Is as I ask these questions, what portion of the standards do we find this? Is it general training standards, scuba experience programs, entry-level programs, scuba specialty programs, dive professional programs, or you could also go to, there's a change log. What changed? And you should be reading this on a regular basis. What changed and how did it change? So you can go back and understand. Because the standards change every 6 months. There is an update or a change about every 6 months. Let's look at that. Let's just prove that. So May 16th was the last one. I would expect another one coming up November, December. The year before that, May. The year before that, May and November. The year before that, they had a lot of changes, but they all happened in September. So they change regularly, sometimes twice a year. So making sure you're utilizing the online version of the standards is important to make sure you're up to date with the latest standards. One of the things that I do personally on a regular basis is before I teach any course. For example, I'm going to go through and I'm going to teach. I'm just trying to brain aneurysm here. An open water specialty, and I'm going to teach deep diving. Deep diving has had changes in it, so I go through and I say, okay, what are my dives supposed to look like? I need to do dive 1 between 18 and 30 meters, dive 2 between 24 and 30 meters, and dive 3 between 30 and 40 meters. Those are my depth limitations. I have now in water ratios, dive shallower than 30 meters. I can do up to 8-to-1. Ratio can change up to 10-to-2 with 1 certified assistant, 12-to-3 with 2 certified assistants. Now, this is the maximum. I encourage you guys as you go through this process to make sure that you are at least at the standards or safer. David will tell you, we had a class of 6 this weekend with 1 student that was 15. We had 2 certified assistants in the water, certified assistant to make sure we were not only at standards, because can I as an open water instructor instruct 6-to-1 with one student at 15. Let's go to that. Tell me where I go to find out how many students I can have in the water.
Entry-level scuba programs.
Okay, entry-level scuba programs. Where do I go next, David?
Open water diver.
Open water diver. So
In-water ratios. 15 and older. Student is 8-1.
8-1. Now, if I have a 10-year through 14-year-old, the student ratio is now 4-1, but the ratio may be increased 6-2 with 1 certified assistant and 8-3 with 2 certified assistants. No more than 2 participants per instructor or certified assistant may be under the age of 12, and none of the remaining participants may be under the age of 15. So here's how we do that, and here's what we look for. So this weekend, for example, we had a ratio of 6-1 with 2 certified assistants. Were we meeting or exceeding the standard? Matt?
You were doing better than the standard.
Absolutely.
You were covered.
So as you look at this, the minimum standard can be very difficult. But you want to make sure I'm meeting or exceeding the standard every single time. And you need to do that based upon comfort level as well. But as I look through this, as I get ready to do open water standards, I need to make sure I look, what are my depth limitations? As I'm going to do specialty programs, what am I doing? So open water specialties, let's go back to deep diving. That's a good one to pick on. Dive 1, 18-30. Dive 2 is this. Proximity. During in-water skills evaluation, the student must remain under direct supervision of the SSI professional so that physical contact may be made at all time. Let's talk about that for a minute. So the rule of thumb and what we're kind of looking for, physical contact must be made. If Matt, if we're talking physical contact, is this close enough?
That you can touch me? Yeah.
Is it? What happens if you pull back? Is that close enough?
Well, then no, it's not. If it's
Here's
not all
the rule
time.
of thumb to use. If I can touch my elbow to my side and I can touch you at the same time, that is in a position where physical contact can be made at any time. And I think that in my opinion, in this particular statement, any time is the key words in this. Here's the thing. How fast can somebody bolt away from you or bolt towards you in open water while we're diving? Pretty fast? 30 feet a second? Could I jump back and get out of your control point? How about a direct uncontrolled ascent, especially when we're talking a deep dive class? How fast can somebody get away from you if they go to an uncontrolled ascent?
How fast? Yeah.
Really fast. So utilize that as you're going through skills and you're evaluating these skills. If I can touch my elbows to my side, I still have the ability to reach and I can still get them before they get away from me. So think about that. But make sure you're reviewing the standards for these every single time you do a specialty. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and you don't have to memorize it, but you do have to know what is required of you. In the particular case of the deep diving, here's what we're required to be able to pass them off. Complete all academic sessions as outlined in the instructor manual for deep diving. So we know that the specific assessments are in the deep dive manual. Complete the program's final exam. Complete 3 open water training dives as outlined in the instructor manual. So how we do this, what we do is all in the instructor manual, very clearly written. But here's our basic standards of what we're looking for. Here's the dives. Now, one of the things you'll find in the open water diver manual is it's determined that you can do all 3 dives in one day. Now, real quick, Matt, how many training dives can be done in one day? What's the maximum?
Is it 3?
It is.
I have to look at the standards. Yeah.
It is. Now, in the new deep diving instructor manual, it is expressed that you can do all 3 training dives in one day, but they must be done in order. 60, 80, 100. You do shallowest to deepest.
So you don't do your deepest first, so you.
No.
Yeah.
Now, here's in practicality, having taught deep diving, here's the thought process from SSI and from real experience of teaching deep diving, by the way. So we're going to get off topic a little bit. The idea is dive one is your shakeout dive. Can they do the dives? Are they going to be able to hold and go through the skills as well as the what you're required of them and be safe? Where would you want to find that out at? The shallowest depth or the deepest depth?
Shallowest.
Absolutely. So for the safety of the students, we want to make sure we're working in progression of easiest to hardest, not hardest to easiest, to build up the experience for the SSI Diamond through the process. So make sure we're reading, anytime we're doing a standards, that we're reading the standards first and the instructor manual second to make sure we understand what's expected of them. And then finally end off with the training form, because the training form will tell you what you're signing off and what you promised by contract that they've been able to accomplish. So every time you do it, and I think David would agree with me when I say that every time I teach XR or deco procedures or side mount or deep dive or nitrox, I read the standards first, what's expected of me on the SSI standards, what's expected of me from the instructor manual, and what's expected of me, what am I signing off that they can do every single time. Now in nitrox, unfortunately, the form that I pulled up originally didn't have the information, but here's an actual nitrox form. Here's what I'm agreeing that they can do. Can they calibrate an oxygen sensor? Can they analyze a scuba tank? Can they prepare a gas cylinder label? And can they complete a fill station gas log? That's what I'm required. I'm saying by my signature, sorry, it's hard to do this backwards. I'm agreeing by signature that they can do all this. And here's when they did it. So make sure you're reviewing all three of these. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try and go off script. Stay with the script. Now you can absolutely increase this. And I can tell you that I work hard to make sure I give them too much information, not too little information. So review these standards. They're huge. Let's go through a few more questions. Let's see. Who can directly supervise all academic and pool confined water activities with the exception of emergency ascent skills under the indirect supervision of an active status open water instructor? Where do I find that?
Well, let's look here.
Who can directly supervise all academic and pool confined water activities with the exception of emergency ascent skills under the indirect supervision?
Under
I know it's
entry-level
just an
scuba.
instructor, I'm just trying to find.
Yeah, under entry-level scuba programs, open water diver, the very first sentence in minimum supervision is an active status assistant instructor may directly supervise all academic sessions, pool and confined water activities with the exception of emergency ascent skills and surface skills during open water training dives under the indirect supervision of an active status open water instructor.
Absolutely. It's right there in the standards. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do as an full open water instructor is utilize your assistant instructors. It's our job as the ones above, the instructors, the assistant instructor trainers, the master instructors, the instructor trainers, is to bring people up underneath us and bring them up through the ranks and help them get to where we're at. Now, if I don't give people like David, who's an assistant instructor, the opportunity to teach, am I doing him a disservice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we give them the chance. Now, the teaching methodology with SSI is very clear that our goal is to utilize the standards, but for each instructor to develop their own teaching style. The problem is you can't develop your own teaching style unless you teach. This is very much about building experience. So as you guys kind of go through this as an instructor, think about how you came up and what challenges you had. Did you have the chance to teach enough to get to the point where you had the practice and ability to be able to become a good quality instructor, right? One of the things I disagree with firmly is these 0 to hero programs that start people as non-professionals and in 2 weeks turn them into an open water instructor. I personally disagree with that because how can you develop a teaching style if in 2 weeks. You can't. David, you've been an assistant instructor for a while. Do you feel like you're finally starting to get to the point where you have a teaching style and you're comfortable enough to teach on your own without me?
Yeah.
How long did that take you, David? How many open water sessions and classrooms had you taught, or classes did you taught before you start getting to this point where you feel like you've now got a teaching style and you're comfortable that I could be there and directly or indirectly supervise you and be okay?
Well,
I'll be interested to see. I'm going to write down
3 months.
What'd you say?
3 months of classes. It was probably about 3 months of classes.
Before I asked the question, that was my guess.
So
I'm serious. It was right there. I wrote it down before I asked the question.
Yeah.
It took about 3 months
'cause-
before he felt comfortable teaching. And now here's the thing is, David, did I just throw you in the pool and start letting you teach mass drills and regular drills and stationary air share?
Yes, but not to students.
Exactly.
Threw me in with some certified divers and was like, hey, teach these guys as if they were students. And
Exactly. Now,
then I
how
got
many
feedback from
how many
everybody.
months of pool sessions before you felt comfortable teaching mask, reg, and stationary air share?
Mask and regs were sooner because I got to practice that a lot as a dive guide and dive master as well. And working towards the dive guide and dive master, the air sharing we didn't practice quite as much, but I'd say probably that same 3 months for that one. So,
Am I psyched today or what? It
It's
takes
almost
about
like you
3 or
do this
4
regularly.
months of practice and constant. So as an instructor, I encourage you to co-teach with others and build a training style as an assistant instructor to practice this. It takes time to understand this. It doesn't happen overnight. And the same thing with these standards. Make sure you're going through and reading the standards, making sure you're going through and practicing this. Practice in the mirror. One of the things that I ask my assistant or my dive guide candidates to do is do these skills, read through them in the standards, and then videotape yourself. Use your iPhone if you need to. It's a nice, easy way to do, but go through and practice the skills and then send them to me. Mask drill 1, halfway. Mask drill 2, all the way. Mask drill 3, remove and replace. Regular drill number 1, the purge. Regular drill number 2, the blow. And if you notice my hand and arm signals, it takes time to build that up. And the best way to do that is to videotape them, practice them in the mirror, and practice them on your dog, your wife, and your kids. They will be tired of it. But practice that on a regular basis. All your hand and arm signals need to be slow and exaggerated. The easiest way to do this is if you think you're going slow, slow down. And make sure you're pretending you're on a stage and the person you're trying to teach is in the very back row. So as you kind of go, that's your kind of your pro tip and off subject. Let's go back to standards for a minute. And let me decide another question. I wrote down a whole bunch of questions that I thought would be good for you. What is the minimum instructor rating to conduct a dive master crossover program? Where would I find that?
Ooh, I'm going to guess dive professional program.
Okay.
Yeah. And you said crossover?
Crossover.
For a dive master.
A crossover for a dive master. Where do I go?
Dive master instructor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it. I'm not sharing my screen again. Sorry. There we go. So so dive professional programs. Where do I go?
Third from the bottom, dive professional crossover.
Third from the bottom, I see is classified dive professional crossover over here. Oh, I don't know if you can see. I guess you can't see my screen. So, okay. So I'm in dive professional crossover.
Yep.
Instructor rating.
Minimum instructor rating.
What's the very first one there?
So
Master
you said a
instructor.
dive master crossover. Yeah.
Minimum instructor rating for that is a dive master instructor. Easy enough. On that same ideas, once you become an open water instructor, what does it take to become an advanced open water instructor? Where do I go?
Advanced open water instructor.
Okay.
And has 3 prerequisites. Be active, SSI open water instructor, have at least 4 SSI specialty instructor certifications, including diver stress and rescue, and have issued at least 15 specialty and or advanced adventure certifications.
Okay. Now let's take a look at dive master instructor. What do we need to do? What are the requirements to become a dive master instructor?
For completion or the prerequisites?
To complete, to become a dive master instructor, what do I have to do?
Like a pyramid scheme, you have to bring everybody else along.
I can see that. So according to this, I have to do 15 open water divers, 3 stress and rescues, 3 dive guides, 3 science of divings, and 6 advanced adventures. And I need to be an advanced open water instructor as well as be a science of diving instructor. Easy enough. So to do a dive master crossover, I need to be a dive master instructor. To become a dive master instructor, here's the requirements. Now, by the way, I would be willing to bet anything. Both of those questions will be on the evaluation. Now, the deep diving and diver stress and rescue programs require at least blank open water training dives. Where do I find it?
Sorry, say that one more time.
The deep diving and diver stress and rescue programs require at least how many open water dives? Where do I go?
Programs.
Okay. Let's see.
Number 4.
Thank you. Sorry, having a brain aneurysm apparently. Oh. I'm in specialty programs. Where to now?
Open water specialties.
Open water specialties.
Yeah.
Diver stress and rescue.
Or deep diving, either one.
Yes.
Okay.
Start on you.
Okay.
Scroll down.
Tell me when to stop.
There, complete at least.
Frozen.
No, complete at least 3 open water training dives as outlined in the instructor manual for diver stress risk.
Now, this can sound
Deep says
misleading.
it's the same thing.
How many training dives can you do in one day?
3.
So it can be completed in one day. If you have some really good students and they're really going through it, you can do it in one day. A lot of instructors break it into 2 days of open water. So it's up to you. You can certainly go with the standards, or you can expand the standards if you want. So be aware. Let's see. Ecology specialty programs, students must have at least blank certification in open water certification if an open water training is conducted as part of the program. Ecology specialty program, students must have at least blank certification if an open water training is conducted as part of the program. No certification, open water diver, referral diver, or scuba diver. What's their minimum certification level in order to do an specialty program, an ecology specialty program, if they're going to do in-water training? Where do I go? What's my open water rating that I have to be in order to do an ecology program in water training session?
As an instructor,
The student.
as a student.
The students
You
must
have to
have
know
at
in
least what level of certification to do in water training as in for ecology?
So
Where do I go?
specialty programs,
Okay.
third down ecology specialties,
Okay.
Students,
um,
snorkel students, or
So
be
they
a
have to have
referral
it.
diver.
Hmm. So they have to be at least to be able to snorkel to do ecology programs
if in water training is conducted.
if in water training is conducted. Okay, guys. A candidate water fitness evaluation for professional programs is valid for how long? Where do I go?
And what certification is valid for how long?
A candidate water fitness evaluation for professional programs is valid for how long?
Dive professionals.
Okay.
Number 1, water fitness eval. Scroll down. A completed water fitness evaluation is valid for 6 months.
There you go. So anytime you move up, you must do it. It's every 6 months. There you go. All right, let's find a couple more, and then we'll call it. Let's see. Let me find a good one for you guys.
Oh, baby.
Where would I find SSI's philosophy on passing the regulator? Passing the primary regulator. Where would I find SSI's philosophy on passing the primary regulator? This is a good one.
Entry-level Scuba programs.
Okay,
highway
where?
Open water diving.
Okay, where's the philosophy on passing the primary regulator? Tell me what to do.
Scroll down.
Where's the philosophy?
Wouldn't that be in the course material?
You think?
Trying to look it up here.
Or do you think it'd be in the general training standards, conducting programs,
First one.
SSI in water training philosophy?
There it is. I just found that when you said the philosophy is the key word on that one. Rationale for passing the primary air source.
My computer's trying to load it. Oh, teaching air sharing skills.
Now, when it says read the owner's manual of the regulator, is it talking about the first stage?
Says SSI professionals may teach either method of air sharing, passing the primary or passing the alternate regulator. Under in water training philosophy. Is that what you asked us for?
Yes. So there's the rationale for passing the primary. But just below that, under the attention, do they have first stages that you can't have an auto on? No,
Sounds like
the
a
giant red
Benjamin question.
exclamation just below that.
If the regulator is designed for only one person, the instructor must be the donor during the exercise and equipped with the redundant breathing system.
That's just not something I've crossed before.
Yeah, a manually that explicitly says that the regulator is for the use of only one person. Sounds like a tech guy question. Go up just a little bit.
Ben, if you're talking to us, we can't hear you.
Sorry, it went to mute. This gives you all the information of what their rationale on different things are, why you should pass the primary. You should teach both kneeling versus diving position. So, for example, SSI strongly encourages instructors to have their students practice all applicable skills in the diving position during their pool and confined water. In the decision to transition a student from kneeling position to diving position is always at the instructor's discretion, but must be based on the student's comfort level and ability to complete the skill. So it's a good idea to go through this and understand what their overall rationale and their philosophy on this is. This is what they're asking you to do and what their suggestion is. How conducting the programs, how to assess the knowledge and skills. Assessing knowledge and skills, here's how they want you to do that. Final exams, approved materials, instructor assistance. If the final exam is not available in the student's native language or the student has a documented learning disability, the SSI professional conducting the program may administer the exam orally. The answer sheet must be completed by the student and signed by both the student and the instructor. If the student is younger than 15 years old, the SSI professional may rephrase or explain a question or answer on the final exam to help clarify concepts, but they may not answer or help the student answer the question. Now, absolutely, David, have you ever seen myself or Nikki sit down with a student that was younger than 15 and help them with the test a little bit? By rephrasing or paraphrasing?
Yes. I was going to say, not helping, but kind of explaining the question.
Exactly. So be aware. Things like this are definitely to your advantage to understand and read through. And while you don't have to memorize it, it's definitely good to know that, hey, if I've got a 12-year-old and I'm trying to get him to take a test, he may not understand it. It's absolutely to our advantage to sit down and maybe I
think we lost you again, or you.
Sorry about that. So here's where we're talking conducting the programs. Dives per day. 3 dives, open water training dives per day is the maximum allowed unless otherwise indicated by the specific program. The maximum number of training dives is 2 per day if any dive on a given day is planned to or actually requires stage discretion. So, do 2 a day. Duration of the dive. Dive time for an individual open water scuba training must be at least 15 minutes. The dive must include an entry and an exit from open water and putting on and taking off the scuba unit. So anything that you need to be aware of is going to be in here. And it's definitely to your advantage to read through this and make sure. During all in open water dry suits, all in open water instructor directly supervising the program must be an active SSI dry suit specialty instructor. So if I teach a course in dry suit, I have to be a dry suit certified instructor. So it's all in here. Just be aware that it's in here and it's easily findable. But when we started talking about philosophy, I just went to search and I typed in philosophy. SSI in-water training philosophy. And it brought me right to it. So don't be afraid to use the search as you kind of guys go through this. Does that help? Now, does this help?
Yes.
Absolutely. And by the way, some of those questions you might I might have gone through. There's a good chance.
Ben, you're on mute again.
Sorry about that. So the other thing I might ask is where in the my SSI app and information would I find how to verify a diver? Marketing services training. So be aware and understand kind of where things are at in the app and kind of go through the day before, because you most likely will be asked questions on that. Survey, for example, how do I know how many issue certifications I did? Where would that be in? That's going to be in the pro area. How do I pro verification? Where is that going to be in? It's going to be the pro area. How about job? Where is that going to be in? The pro area. And so you can go to the pro area, for example, and I'll put in my own, and you can check the data. You can go to any instructor and you can say, okay, here's his pro information and where he's currently at. But where do we find that? The pro area. The center area is going to be dive site manuals, affiliated dive sites, and dive site management. The corporate area, becoming a pro. Marketing, everything that you need is going to be in the MySSI app. So just take time to become familiar with it. Make sense? And then you've got your statistics in here. So that's what we're looking at. Take this off. All right, guys, what questions do you have?
This helps a lot. Thank you very much just for the refresher and going through that as far as where to find things. It's very helpful.
Absolutely. So utilize that to your best advantage. That's for sure. It's there for a reason, and it's definitely there to help you as well. Go through this process. Also, print this stuff off. Print off the academic evaluation teaching form on a piece of Terra slate and have it ready. Print off the dive guide evaluation slate or order from your center. Order it actually, because you can actually order a slate. I actually keep them in my truck. They're out of my truck. I should have brought them in. I'm sorry. But either print it off on Terra slate or get one, order out a set of slates from the action and print it and have it with you during the evaluation, because you're going to need to have that information. And make sure you print off any skills that you're going to be required to teach: mass drills, regulator drills, air sharing, ascents. Make sure you have all those: emergency buoyant ascent, emergency swimming ascent. Any of those, make sure that you've printed those off on Terra slate so that you're able.
I think you muted again. Sorry.
Flip to that page and go to that page and say, okay, here's how we're going to do that scale. And why I say put it on Terra slate is that way you can have it as part of your BC. And when it comes time, you can say, okay, today's skill is going to be and go right through it piece by piece by piece. Read it off. Do not reinvent the wheel. Have it printed off. This is an open book test for standards. Don't guess on the standards and don't think I know it. Go to the standard and actually read the standard and make sure it asks. A real good one that's going to ask you is, for example, how does an open water instructor become certified and qualified to teach an open water specialty? There are 3 methods. What are they? Do you know?
How do they become qualified to teach an open water specialty?
There's 3 methods that an instructor can use to become certified to teach an open water specialty. What are they? Look at it in the standards. It's in the standards.
Specialty program, general standards. Well, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. Three ways to become a certified to teach SSI specialty programs: Specialty Instructor Seminar, co-teaching, and verification/application. Not available for training specialists.
Exactly. So co-teaching a class, and each one has a different standard on that. So be aware of what that is. But at least you need to teach it at least twice, right? A seminar. Who can conduct a seminar? What's the minimum standard for conducting a specialty seminar?
I don't know. I've never even thought of that.
Can an open water instructor conduct a specialty seminar on ecology or any other specialty? Pick a specialty. It doesn't really matter. Pick the specialty. Deco diving. There's a good one. That's a specialty.
An active status assistant instructor trainer certified as an instructor in the applicable specialty may conduct the seminar.
Okay. Absolutely. So assistant instructor trainer or better. So an instructor can't just teach it. They have the only way you can. If you have a specialty that I don't, and I want to be able to teach that, you have to co-teach it with me 2 separate times to be able to teach it. But I'm an assistant instructor trainer. If I have a specialty that you want, I can conduct a specialty seminar on that subject and teach you through that process. Now, as I go through that seminar, I can make the determination of how deep and how far I need to go on that to make sure that you're able to competently teach that specialty. Because I'm the assistant instructor trainer on that, I can say, okay, this is an easy one. We're teaching shark ecology. I can do a seminar on that in about an hour, and I can feel comfortable that you'll be able to teach this comfortably. But if we're getting into something like deco diving, and it's that's probably going to be a much deeper course. But I need to make that determination. How much information do I need to give you in a seminar to be able to competently say you can teach that specialty? Now, Matt, if you were a technical XR extended range diver, and I was going to give you a seminar, I could probably go through and do that in maybe a half hour, an hour, and say, okay, as an extended range diver, I need to verify the information to make sure he's able to accurately and safely produce a course on that. Fair enough? So
that makes sense.
Who can do that, and how does that work? But there's also the ideas. So, for example, I was in the Marine Corps, and I've done a lot of navigation and orienteering in my life over the course of my life, and it's something I really enjoy. I'm able to produce accurate and strong information that shows that I am quite competent and quite able to teach navigation. Do I have to go through a seminar or co-teach it? No. So think about it as you go through this. Now, SSI's preferred method is co-teaching or seminar, but they will accept. So I can sign somebody off if you could come to me and say that I am a navigation expert. I can question you and see the proof that you can do it, and I can say, oh, okay, you proved to me that you were a navigation instructor in the Army or whatever it was. Yes, I'll sign you off. But that's not the preferred. If co-teaching or seminar are available, you want to do those. So just be aware of that. Easy enough?
Yeah.
All right. So guys, we went through quite a bit today on this seminar. We
You're on mute.
Like your computer is just hating you today.
Ben, you're on mute. You have been.
I'm glad you guys can't read my lips sometimes.
I'm pretty sure I read them on that one.
Fair enough. So we went through and gave you guys the idea of where to find the information, how the instructor evaluation forms work, where to find the information that you're looking for. We looked at all that, and we did some actual practical examples. We talked a little bit about perfect buoyancy. We've talked about enriched air nitrox. We went through some actual questions that you may or may not be asked on your student evaluation. And we went through the standards quite a bit because the standards is a large portion of the test. We also encouraged you to go back through the actual courses that you're going to be certified to teach, like perfect buoyancy, like enriched air nitrox, like stress and rescue. And then we also talked about how to put together an actual presentation that will garner you a very easy 18 points right out the gate by doing 3 simple steps, right? That'll get you a quick 18 points. And if you can remember the acronym ART, actual experience, retail opportunities, and training and Con Ed, you're gonna hit all those. And then we gave you a couple quick points on making sure to talk about local dive travel as well as training opportunities. Make sure to hit both of those, as well as we talked about training aids, that as we're going to go through and use training aids, to make sure we use at least 2, 3 is better on every single one. If you do those simple things and utilize the books and the materials in front of you and don't try and reinvent the wheel, the instructor evaluation is a great place to learn and grow and really blossom and get more information, especially if there's other people in the course. You get to learn from them as well, and it'll help guide you through. Now, the instructor evaluation, just be prepared, it's an evaluation of the skills and things that you learned through your instructor training course. It's just like open water. There's a difference between confined water and open water. In confined water, I'm teaching you. That's what the ITC does, is I take you in the pool and I can demonstrate. Here's what it looks like, right? I can do things. I can take the regular mouth, put it back in my mouth, and show you. Once we get to open water, now I'm evaluating what I taught you in the pool. I'm asking you, regular drill number 1, show me. We can certainly talk about it through the process. You can certainly study through the process, but I'm just evaluating and simply proving that you've learned these basic skills. It's not rocket science. So that's all we're doing. It's the same process that SSI uses for everything. A training session, an evaluation session. Can you do this? You're doing the same thing with your open water students. You're training them, and there's proving that you trained them. So, and then we went through the actual training form, where to find the information and what I'm physically signing them off on and how to find that. We're proving that we've done all this. I've shown you in the standards where to find what your rules of engagement are on that course. And then we also went to the open water manual and we said, okay, here's what I'm actually supposed to say, A, B, C, D. And we talked about the fact putting that on a terror slate and having it with us so that we're in the classroom, you read it. When we're in the pool, we read it. When we're in open water, we read it. Don't reinvent the wheel. You don't need to memorize this stuff. Just read it. Now, a little preparation for you. As you go through open water, it's encouraged very strongly to read them every single time. When you're actually teaching open water, to read through it every single time. When you get to Assistant Instructor Trainer and you do an Assistant Instructor Seminar, it's suggested that you stop reading because by that point, you'll have done 75 open waters. And by that point, you should have a pretty good handle on what you're doing. But until you get to that point, read it every single time. I just can't stress that enough. Use the forms every single time because you should be able, this is where you're in the training ground to be able to prepare to train others. Now, when you get to the Instructor Trainer Seminar, there's a good chance you may get graded off for reading it because by the time you get to Instructor Trainer Seminar, you should have done 100 open waters. You should have trained 5 assistant instructors. You should have trained 5 dive guides and dive masters. You should have done 15 stress and rescues and have issued 150 specialty certifications. So by this point, you should have the information down. But as a new open water instructor, you haven't practiced it enough to get to that point where you can teach others. That's what you're doing is an open water instructor, an advanced open water instructor, and a dive master instructor is your training grounds to get to the point where you're prepared to teach others. Make sense? So read it. Don't reinvent the wheel. I just cannot say that enough times. Just read what they've given you. Show the videos in your classes. Watch the videos yourself. It's a great training ground to go through and just rewatch all the videos. SSI is taking the time to print out it. I want you to say ABC. And by the way, I have a video showing us how to do ABC. You don't have to be a genius on this. So, any questions, guys?
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to end the recording now.